Hello, it's my great pleasure to you to give an overview or an introductory presentation on the role of data in smart mobility governance and management. To do so, I'll briefly introduce the Smart City Institute and what we're doing, our definition of smart city and smart mobility, and then we'll dig into the topic of the role of data in mobility governance, with a short overview of a case that we developed in Austin. So what is the Smart City Institute? We are an academic institute attached to the Faculty of Management and Economics at the University of Liège. So that means that we're working on sustainable and smart transition of territories from a strategy, governance, public management, or management at all on this topic. Nobody in our team is an engineer or technician, but we really try to approach it with a more social science approach. We do so through research, fundamental and applied, through teaching for students, but also for professional, and we have a transversal role of supporting innovation and awareness raising activities like this representation. Where does the smart city concept arises from? We see different encountering phenomena. The first one is demographic changes, because we estimate that by 2050, 80% of populations will be living in cities. This leads to an increased pressure on the infrastructure and a growing urbanization. In parallel, we've seen more and more pressing urgencies matters when it comes to climate change and environmental aspects. And in parallel, we also saw over the last decades the rise in the use of digital and technology as part of everyday life. All those challenges, they create new imperatives, new expectations, but also new possibilities for territories and actors active on those territories. There's been a lot of definition of what a smart city is and is not, but we have developed this definition that we base on ourselves on. So for us, a smart city is a multi-stakeholder ecosystem composed of public, private, but also citizen and local actors and academia. This ecosystem is engaged in a sustainability strategy or transition, using technologies as an enabler to become more sustainable. And so we really want to insist on the fact that technology should be a mean to a sustainable end, but not an end in itself. We use the term smart city, but we believe that our definition is applicable to any type or size of territory, so that is synonymous to smart territory, smart regions, or smart villages. In terms of governance, for a smart city to be well or fully implemented, there should be collaboration between what we call members of the quadruple elite, so public actors or public authorities, with industry or private operators and actors as a whole, academia and research, but also citizens and civil society. Ideally, there should be a complementary approach between top-down initiatives, so public policies and initiatives that percolate to other actors, but also bottom-up initiatives where other actors come up with projects and initiatives that really have an impact on the territories and the way it reacts. Just to briefly remind, in terms of Wallonia, where we are based, the concept of smart city is implemented through the Digital Wallonia project and through a more specific aspect that is digital territory with the smart region program, of which we are one of the academic reference. I won't go too much into that, but we always refer to smart cities through those six thematic dimensions, governance and mobility being our main point of focus today. So we know that there is a lot of debate and challenges in mobility, either environmental, economic, social, but also from an inclusiveness point of view. But we see that there are still a lot of barriers to the change of behaviors from mobility users. And here we just want to show that some of them relate to facts, others to perception, some at collective level and some at individual level. That implies a lot of barriers. And so one can ask whether maybe the use of smart mobility and data could be useful to get over those barriers. Here you see three possibilities of what smart mobility could be. I want you to take 1 second for yourself to know instinctively which one you think would be the right solution. Our definition, our vision is based on those definitions, one from the European Commission that says that it brings together all the solutions aimed at optimizing the use of infrastructure, vehicles, and equipment to facilitate the mobility of people and goods. But as from an academic point of view, we also relied on the definition that say that it's a broad concept that facilitates the sustainable development by optimizing transport services, taking into account technological, social, economic, and environmental challenges. And what I want to insist on, looking at the Venn diagrams on the right, is again the smart or the technological aspect is part of a sustainable transition, but should only be an enabler. So based on our definition, all those three possibilities could be smart mobility as long as they answer a need from the territory in terms of sustainability. What do they have in common? They have in common that they propose multimodal mobility options, and also put forward to a certain degree innovative solutions. Multimodal mobility can either be concerned intermodality, so using two modes for the same journey, or multimodality, that means using different modes but for the same journey but not at the same moment. And we truly believe that this concept of multimodal mobility is key to enable sustainable development in the future. The second aspect forward is the innovation aspect. In smart mobility, we usually see four main trends, sorry. Electrification, the sharing of mobility, connectivity, and automation. Three of them that we won't be developing in the short video, but we have plenty of resources to discuss them more. Here we will focus on the aspect of connectivity. So what is connected mobility? Roughly speaking, it can be summed up as the collection of data through various channels that are then connected to the infrastructure or the network in a way or another, and then used by this infrastructure, the vehicles that are on it, or the users that are on it. There are different sources of data that can be used in mobility. The mobility that are generated by people through their phone, but also through potential, how do you say that? Potential online contribution and opinion giving. Data that are generated by vehicles, so either through connected and automated cars, but also new kind of mobility providers. And last but not least, the data that are generated by the cities through sensors, camera, offer, and toll collection. What is important to see here is that we tend to think that maybe connectivity and mobility is something really hidden or innovative, but we want to show that for everyday user, everybody already has access to connected mobility without knowing that behind the information that is received, there is a huge amount of mobility and a huge needed infrastructure. How does data or the use of data support multimodal mobility? Well, first, it can help in the digital integration of services, for example, through platforms that centralize information, booking, and/or payment. It can really help the user to limit the intellectual burden of using other services and make it seamless, such as in the case of mobility as a service, that we won't go too much into details here, but that really embodies that concept of digital integration. The use of data can also help the physical integration because it can support local authorities to develop proper land use and urbanism policies and methods, and it can also help to develop actions that are not mobility actions, such as the redeployment of certain services that would make people avoid taking the car or the mobility mode. What is the added value of connected mobility? Well, first of all, it helps to get real-time information for the users, also for public authorities. And so, for example, it really helps with traffic management. It helps to have a high degree of personalization of services, which is really useful for the user, but then can also give a better grasp of what is happening on the territory for what kind of users to economic actors, but also public authorities. It can truly support authorities in the planning of the mobility offer, either in terms of public transport, either in case of demand management and the deployment of services and additional routes. And it is believed that it can help to, in fine, to have a better safety and automation of services. However, it's not a perfect solution or an end again in itself, because there are limitations. So we often talk about data being the new wall, but that also implies consequences. The first one being that it requires the generation of a lot of data, a huge volume, for the information that users and territories receive to be accurate. Also comes a question of management. So who owns those data? Whose prerogative could it be? Where should they be stocked? And it can, to an extent, lead to safety and ethical issues. I will leave here the debate related to energy dependency for the the good going of those data centers, or the health impact. That are also sometimes a detail related to the exposure of telecom services. But I want to put forward that we must not forget that over-reliance on data and connected services can be a limit to a certain part of the population, because not all territories and not all people have access to digital information in their everyday life. Here, to briefly explain to you, because it was asked by the Data Protection Authority, we created this document in French that you can access freely after our visit in Austin in March 2023, where we discussed the smart mobility strategy. And what they put in place, I think it's a really nice show on how separated policies became an integrated one. So the first thing that I want to put forward is that they already had smart mobility plans in 2018, relying on three pillars: so innovations, collaboration, and education. And one of the main components was the use of data and technology. Since 2015, they have also this Vision Zero policy that comes from Sweden, and the aim is really to put an end in traffic-related death and serious injuries by 2030, because that's a huge problem. And so it involves a lot of different measures, such as safer street design, targeted enforcement, public engagement, and so on. To implement this, they've put in place this Vision Zero board, where they get all the data they need in terms of fatalities or serious injuries, that is showed in terms of travel mode prepartition. And I think the most important aspect is that it can really show on this map when it happened, how to really highlight the most dangerous places, where there should be some specific policies developed to come over. Those two separate policies have been included or joined in the first multimodal plan, the strategic mobility plan of the cities. That is really a roadmap for the implementation of project, programs, initiative in the short and long term. And those are really also related to concrete investment in transport policy. That is a result of a participatory process, and it really combines 10 priorities, including the development of shared mobility option using data, and again, coming back with this measure from the Zero Vision. That also means that this plan really put in place long-term investment also in the deployment of data infrastructure to continue to better understand what is happening and where it should be developed. So it really comes as a complementary and a virtuous cycle of how the data helps, how we need to invest in the data to further understand our limits and develop it. And so here is a small example of an intersection where they noticed that cars were not going slower and that there were a lot of fatalities and injuries for people walking. So now pedestrians have the opportunity to say that they will cross soon, and there is a signal that is sent to automated cars saying that they arrive at dangerous crossroad. But also at the same time, it also gives better visibility for non-automated cars. So I really try to be concise, but all of this can be found for further information online, and I'm happy to discuss it further too. But what should be taken away from this short presentation? Well, first, that there's not a one-size-fits-all approach to smart mobility and smart cities in general when it comes to the governance of the territory. Innovation in data can really be an enabler for sustainable development of mobility, but the use of data itself cannot solve all issues. Sustainable mobility cannot be reached without the development of multi and intermodality. And as I was trying to show, mobility is only the top of the iceberg. Thank you very much, and I leave to you to this email address and online publications that you can download. Thank you very much. Bye.